Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Twist Gaming. We are here live at Origins 2019, bringing you a front row seat to some of the best games being toted around, demoed, shown today, the whole convention, actually. And I have the pleasure of being with Tyson from Pangea Games today to talk about a new game coming to Kickstarter.
Yep.
Very excited to hear about it. So, Tyson, what have you brought for us today?
I've brought tasty humans for you.
That's nice of you. Did you bring ketchup?
I didn't bring any condiments, but they're tasty enough without them that I figured it'd be okay, right? No, Tasty Humans is a 1 to 4 player tile placement, grid management, pattern building game.
Okay.
Where you assume the role of a insatiable monster with an appetite for, you guessed it, humans. And you're trying to be the most satisfied monster of all of your fellow monsters by consuming adventurers. These adventurers have a lot of different qualities about them and things that you may or may not like. So your goal is to fill your stomach fastest and to have the most satisfaction with them.
Sounds good. So talk to me about the adventures. Let's get over to that board cam. There we go. And check out what we got here.
So on the table here we have quite a few different things. It's a small little box, but it packs quite a punch with all the components. We've got 4 different monsters currently on the table. We have the twin-headed dragon, and we have the legendary dragon.
He looks like my dragon. That's why we picked him.
The red, cute little dragon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And these are, they're harmless, right? They're beautiful, wonderful creatures.
They're little puppies.
These humans right here are really the aggressors here. And
it's got a pitchfork. I mean...
And a torch and, swords and, they're threatening. So,
obviously,
these monsters have, maybe they brought it on themselves. They've captured a king and brought this king to their domain. And these humans are coming back to rescue their king. So the goal is to eat as many of these adventures as you can, but some of them are going to fight back. You've got some archers, you've got some swordsmen. They're going to fight back as you eat them. But you also have up here the leader tile board.
Okay.
This also on the back is your score tracker and things like that. And then we have a number of different tiles that have different things on them: boots, armor, hands, helmets, because you're going to have different parts of the humans that you enjoy more than others. So the way around will work in this game is that each player is going to take an adventure at the start of the round.
Okay.
And these adventures have different tile shapes and patterns on them.
I think I have a couple over here. Is there one you want to look at first?
Yeah, let's look at the peasant.
Okay.
So the peasant, you can see, has these different shapes on him: a boot, a helmet, and a hand, right?
Yeah.
And so that peasant is unique. It also has those 2 crowns up top. So these are the things on the card that you would want to pay attention to, because they're going to be the things that help determine why you would want to eat them.
Okay.
So you'll notice that they'll come in different shapes. So if you look at like the archer, for example, the archer has a different shape, and this is a familiar Tetris style shape, right?
Yeah.
So as you put these things in the stomach, you can actually rotate the tiles like you would in like Tetris or any of those kind of games.
Okay. All right.
So you want to orient them in the ways that are best. Each monster, however, so looking back at these boards, you can see that each monster has a unique scoring condition for each of them, so that you know what your preference is. So the scoring condition for the different ones will help you determine how you're going to lay out your stomach.
Let me see the blue board. Let's get that scoring condition in the close-up monitor. I think I can do that. There we go. So for the twin-headed dragon.
So for the twin-headed dragon, you see that it's going to want to have the same types of tiles on either the left and rightmost columns, because it's got 2 heads. It's trying to bite those different columns and get an equal distribution of what it likes.
That's very, very, very nice of it.
So these unique scoring conditions end up being your way to start understanding how you're going to lay out your tiles.
Okay.
So, like, for example, if I'm selecting something like an archer over here, I get to put these tiles into the stomach in that orientation. So if I put it in this direction, then I want all of those tiles for the twin-headed dragon to match the same way on this side as they do on the opposite side.
Gotcha.
in addition to the unique scoring conditions for these different monsters, each round and at the start of the game, you'll start with these what are called leader tiles.
Okay.
These leader tiles have different scoring conditions on it. That one, for example, says that whenever you swallow this leader tile, which will happen at the end of every round, you will end up being able to score all hands in the same row or column that tile lands in.
All right, explain that to me again in slow terms.
So I'll show you it at the end of the round. You'll take this tile and say I had consumed the archer, like I said, right?
Yeah.
So say I have.
So the archer gives you the hand and the helmet on the top, and then the hand and the body piece below that. But of course, it's that Tetris S shape.
Yeah, let's do it this way. Okay, hand, helmet, and armor, right?
Yeah, 2 hands, a helmet, and an armor.
So the way it comes down is because that has that Tetris shape.
Right.
The unique thing about this is those 2 hands are kind of side by side like this. If we put it, I'm gonna mess this orientation up, aren't I? That's okay. So we'll say something like that.
Yeah,
is what it looks like, right?
That works.
So it ends up putting it like that, and it's gonna fall all the way to the bottom of the grid.
Right.
But unlike something like Tetris, it doesn't retain its shape. They will break down and go all the way to the bottom.
Gotcha.
So everything will settle in your stomach. How thematic, right?
It's appropriate.
It makes sense. So it settles to the bottom because you're trying to consume these adventures and make sure that they arrange in the ways that you want them to.
Gotcha.
So now, at the end of this round, I get to eat my leader tile. And I get to place it in any column I want and drop it all the way to the bottom.
Okay.
And now, with this leader tile, I'll let you show that one more time.
Sure.
It scores in the same row and column as it is.
So all of the hands in the row or the column that's in that leader tile is going to get a bonus.
2 points per one that you have there, no matter where they are, if they're at the end of it or the top of it.
Perfect.
So now I've gotten 4 points by that alone.
Okay.
So you have all of these
neat.
different. You have 30 different types of leader tiles in there.
Okay.
So there's a wide variety of what ways you can score, and what ends up happening is you're going to score and change according to what you're presented. Now, remember how I mentioned with the peasant?
Yes.
It has some crowns in the top right corner.
Right.
Well, each round, which consists of a player getting 2 adventures they consume.
Okay.
So if you and I were playing, I would take an adventure, then you would take an adventure, and it's a snake draft, so you actually get to take an additional one before it comes back to me.
Okay.
So then you get to choose what you're doing, and those crowns, like I said, end up allowing you to determine what of the available tiles coming up for the leaders you're going to select. So these different tiles have different scoring conditions as well.
And when we're doing our draft, do the tiles replenish? Or you're picking from the 9 here, and that's what you get until the next choice.
Right. So at each time you consume a venture, what happens is they still want to come at you, so they'll move forward.
Okay.
And then you replace them. They just keep filing in ranks because they're persistent. They want their king back. They know that you're holding on to it. And what happens is the player with the king at the end of the round will switch it to the next in clockwise order to the next player. So it's this little monkey in the middle kind of deal. They get to choose the first adventure next time, and it just goes back and forth until you filled your grid. Okay. And then when you filled your grid, you end up being able to score based off of those leader tiles and the personal cravings. And the player with the most satisfaction or the most points ends up winning. One trick is that whoever ends by filling up their stomach first, they get to eat the king as dessert for an extra 2 points.
That's very appropriate.
So the thing about this is that it scales to player count. So you can go 2-player, 3-player, or 4-player, and it'll be the same length of time, which this game plays out 30 to 60 minutes.
Okay.
And it just shortens the size of your stomach.
For the playtime. So we definitely have the dragons out because we think they're super cute, but you do have a couple of other monsters. I didn't want them to think that it was solely dragons.
I do. So I've got a troll here. This troll is it's quite handsome, I think.
Very much so.
But not quite as beautiful, I think, as this griffin. And so we have a few different monsters to choose from in this version. It's coming to Kickstarter on June 25th, and what we're trying to do is unlock additional monsters. We have a bunch of other ones in the work.
So do you have ideas of
We
what those
do.
stretch goals would be?
We've actually developed them out quite a bit, and we haven't really revealed them, but I'd be happy to let you know that we're working on something like giant slime. You've got a giant slime that you can be with some special little fun ways to play. We've got spiders. We've worked on werewolves. We've got all sorts of different types of monsters that you can include in this game for additional replayability and variability.
Very, very cool. Tyson, I would be remiss if I didn't talk to you about the story that we were talking about how this game was made. So before I let you go, give me a little bit about how this game came to life.
Yeah, this is really fascinating, and I love it because, so I'm not the designer. Our designer on this game is Ryan Languish, and he's very talented. He's actually been designing puzzles since he was 16 for magazines and different things like that, and so he's got a lot of skill in figuring out how to make puzzles work, and he heard about this contest that Pangea Games was putting on, and it was a 48-hour design competition where the task was, at 48 hours before, a theme was revealed. The theme was, and they tasted quite delicious. And what ended up happening was everybody had a design based off of that theme. Some people did animals in the jungle. Some people did pancakes, some people did different foods and things like that. Ryan decided to be a little bit unconventional and make people eat humans that were quite delicious. And what happened with that was he designed this in 48 hours, and it's remained very similar to what it was.
That's so crazy to me, to be able to pull off the bones of this design within that amount of time.
Yeah.
It must have been incredibly nerve-wracking. And you mentioned that he had to pivot.
Yeah, at 24 hours, he ended up, he had a design he was working on, and he was looking at it, and he was playtesting it, and he said, this is not going to work. This is not working. I'm not going to do well with this competition at all. And so he decided to make the decision,
Scrap it.
Let's throw it out, and he went with Tasty Humans instead.
That's such a hard decision to make for a creative person, but sometimes it's the right decision to
Absolutely.
make, and obviously it was that way in this case.
Yeah.
So Tasty Humans is coming to Kickstarter on June 25th. Where can our backers go now to make sure they get notified about the Kickstarter or find out any more upcoming news?
Tasty Humans has a website, tastyhumansboardgame.com. You can go there. You can also go to PangeaGames.com. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're on all those sites under Pangea Games. So check it out. I've had a really good time with this, and I think that it's something that if you like puzzles, if you like analyses, this is the game for you.
Awesome. Tyson, thank you very much
Thank
for taking
you.
some time to hang out with me today and showing me Tasty Humans.
I've enjoyed it.
Stick around, guys. We'll be bringing you some more really great board game coverage in just a moment.